Hi everybody, thank you for joining me today. I'm Sally from Sally Stampers, and today I'm going to show you how to make this super cute trio tea light box with the tea lights inside. And I don't know if you can pick up in there that I've actually got a pattern on the top of the tea lights which I've done myself, and I will show you how to do that. So first off, we obviously need a tea light. Although you can't see it on the ones inside, I have actually decorated around the sides with some washi tape, and it's literally as simple as just feeding it round, making sure that it's straight, and you can either use scissors to cut the end, or like me, I just literally use my thumbnail and give it a little tear. And you know, you can't really see with this pattern, you're very lucky that you can't see where the join is. So a very quick and simple way of decorating your tea lights, just add a little bit of washi around the side. So once we've got the tea light, then obviously we need to decorate it. So I've got some white tissue paper here, and I'm just going to grab a scrap of just normal white printer paper to put underneath. You need to make sure that you have, if your tissue paper has it, you have a smooth and a rough side. So just taking the smooth side and popping that on top. I'm going to use the lovely Flower Shop, which I think is a great stamp. It's obviously got the 6 flowers in, different designs, different patterns. You've got, you know, sort of regular flowers if you like, and then all fancy ones. But I'm just going to go with this swirly one because I quite like that one. So I'm just going to pop that onto my D block. And I'm actually going to use for this one my Stays On. Now, if you've not used Stays On before, it is slightly different. You do have a little protective liner on the inside that you need to take off. Use it in exactly the same way as you would the basic black. Get a good covering, and then simply stamp it onto your tissue paper. And as you can see, this is why you need a spare bit underneath. So I'm just going to put this away, and you don't use your Stampin' Mist spray. You actually have a special Stays On cleaner. As you can see, mine's been used quite a few times, and I simply just rub it all over the stamp where you've had that ink, and then I just scrub it onto my Stampin' Scrub, onto the wet and then onto the dry, and there you go. It does actually look in this light as though it's slightly dirty, but if I can bring it a bit closer you can see it isn't. It's really clean. So that's that stamped onto there. I'm then going to get my paper snips, and although this bit is slightly fiddly, and it's more fiddly because the tissue paper just seems to do its own thing, and I appear to have the shakes as well this morning. So just literally cut round the flower. You don't need to be massively precise. Try and get as close to the tops of the flowers as you can. That's simply because of the size of the tea lights. You may find that a little bit will overlap. So if you can get fairly close to the tips of the flowers, or the squiggles, or whatever pattern you're using. Obviously you don't need to use flowers. You could use anything that's a similar size, or even an adapted size to your tea light. So that's that cut out. What I'm then going to use is my stamping mat here. Put the flower on top, and I'm just going to poke a few little holes in the centre, and then sort of give it a little circular motion just to create a small hole in the centre, which you can see. And that is so that it can go through the wick of your candle. Now, I have to say that I was taught this by the wonderful Flutterby Heidi. I think it was actually a similar time to this last year, and I've actually not done it since. But yes, it was lovely Heidi from Flutterby Heidi that actually showed me how to do this initially. We actually did a green one. If you use white candles, obviously I've used the red because they're my favourite. Red strawberry smelling, just adorable. but obviously I've had to use the black because I did try red and it just really didn't show up, so I went with the black. But we used white ones and actually used the green stamp, and that was really effective. So again, it's entirely what you want to use and what works best. Okay, so we've got this like this. What we then need is our heat tool, because we're going to heat the wax very gently. That will then sort of melt over the wax paper, and it shows it gets away the tissue paper but leaves the black. And hopefully this is how you can see here what I meant about the tips. If you're not careful, they just stick up above. You can trim them because really nobody will notice those bits, but I do fold them in as I go along. So I'll show you how we do this. So it's literally just, and it happens very quickly, as you can see already, look here. It's just melting the top of the candle, and you literally just work your way around, and you'll notice I'm using my paper tool just to tuck those edges in and just to press the tissue paper down into that melted wax. And that's it. It literally takes a few seconds, and then if there's anything you want to sort of manoeuvre, do it now and do it quickly before the wax starts to harden again. If you've got extra bits that are sticking up, you can always just get your paper snips and trim them. And that's it, really. Obviously you can see how it's starting to harden already, and it just hides the tissue paper, and you can decorate your tea lights then whichever way you wish. Obviously I've got the old Blue Peter fashioned. Here's one I made earlier. I did mess this one up as I was trying to cut it, I noticed earlier, and I pulled it a little, which again will show that if you pull the wax paper, it will, the tissue paper, sorry, it will come off. But yeah, so I have my 3 now decorated and ready to go in my box. So I'm going to show you how I did that. So I've got a piece of cardstock here that is 6 inches by 3 inches, and I'm just going to grab my scoring board to score at, and I've not written it down, that's not very helpful, is it? Let's do a quick measure. Yeah, 3/4 of an inch. I don't know why I didn't write that down. So, scoring board, and with the base butted up to the edge, we're literally going to score at 3/4 on all 4 sides. And this is just real red cardstock. So that's that bit cut, scored. So, like always, fold and burnish all of those score lines. And then we're just going to come in to the corners, and it doesn't really matter which way around you do this, and cut wedges. Now I am cutting them off both top and bottom, and that's simply because whenever I make a box, it doesn't matter how well I measure it and double measure it and triple measure it, for some reason it just seems to have a bit that will stick out. So I found the simplest way to do it is to just give them a trim. And what you may also need to check, dependent on the size of your box, is how far in your tabs go, because obviously they're going to meet, and that will cause extra thickness in your box. So just check, and if you need to, just literally trim a smidge off your tabs, and that will just make sure that you've got enough clearance to do them then when you adhere them. So simple as, our 4 tabs cut in with the fast fuse, and as you can see it's a very small amount and a very small tab that we're sticking on. Excuse me. And then we're just gonna fold our corners in, and the great thing about fast fuse and snail is that if you give it a little rub, if you get an extra bit out, it just balls up and rolls off, which is great, because I quite often get mine far too close to the edge. There we go. And the last 2 corners Okay, and that's our box base made. So I'm just going to stick my tea lights in. Perfect fit. So now for the lid. Oh no, sorry. Knew I'd forget. Do you know I did this last time? I really must try and remember what I'm doing. Sticking on your DSP. So these are literally 1/2 inch wide, and this will be 5 3/4 wide, sorry, and 1/2 inch deep. And then this one will simply be 1/2 inch by, sorry, no, that won't be 5 1/4. Bear with me a second. I did write this down, I know I did. Sorry, your DSP is 1 1/4 by 1/2. That doesn't seem right either. Let's measure it. No, 4 1/4. 4 1/4 by 1/2 inch, and these two are 1/2 inch by 1 1/4. That's right. Don't know where I got that measurement from. And obviously, ideally, you do this before you do your sides. But equally, as you can see, we can still do it this way. So just pop DSP on the sides. And 2 little pieces on the ends. Oops. Make sure you have it the right way up if you've got a pattern or writing. Oops, a daisy. Let's try that one again. Don't know, more fingers and thumbs today. There we go. So that's the DSP on, and that is the candles in the box. Right, now to do the top. For the top, I'm using the lovely Fabulous Foil Designer Acetate. As you can see with this one, I've got the silver side up, which I'll probably go with on this one. There is a film, which I think I mentioned before when I've used this, that you have to peel off before you start. It's just to protect it and stop it getting scratched. And then we do the same again. So we're just going to come in and we're going to mark our box up at the same measurement, just 3/4 of an inch. But obviously, because it is the lid, whoops, we need to have that little wedge that gives us the thickness of the base. Now, what I will advise is that when you do this, you really need to press quite hard, and you really need to go back and forth several times, because it's acetate, it is quite thick. And I'm going to score on the correct side. Okay, so it's pushed right up, and I'm going to hold it with my finger there, and initially just a little score, and then once you're happy that you've got that lined up, I give it a real good press and get that mark in, and hopefully you can see just there how I've got that line in. So we need to do that on all 4 sides again. So butt it up with the cardstock. The longer ones are a little more fiddly because it does want to slide, but if we just go with, as I said before, if we can just get that first line going, we can then reinforce it a little more. Whoops. Okay, and back to the easier, shorter side. Back at 3/4 again. And last but not least, the dreaded long side again. Okay, and the last one. Bit of a workout, this one, for your hands anyway. Strength and all of that. So that's that one done. Now when you come to fold these, it is quite important that you make sure you're folding on the lines. It can be a little fiddly, just to make sure that you've got those in the right place. And once you have, make sure your edges are lined up so that you're not doing it wrong. And again, get that burnishing tool in, give it a real good press. Once that folds in, you'll be quite happy and you don't need to worry too much about it then, because it's not going anywhere, as you can see. So we're going to do this one. So the same again, give it a good burnish, and then last but not least, the long ones. And again, just line up those edges to make sure that you're straight, and get that bone folder in there, give it a good press. It is a bit of a workout, but I do think that it's worthwhile because it really does make the box look quite pretty when you've finished. And it's just not a plain top then, it's got this lovely pattern to it. Okay, so we've done all of our folding now. We've done all of our bone folder burnishing, so we're just going to cut. Now, again, it's dependent on which way you want your tabs to sit, but I'm going to go with the same as before and have them sit on the ends, because it's not going to show up as much then. So I'm still cutting my wedges out of all the sides, and I'm just going to give a tiny trim to the end, and then the same again, whoops, this side. So just taking those tabs and a smidge, and the last one, there's the tabs and a smidge. Okay, get rid of that rubbish. To put my lid together, I actually use glue dots, just because I find them a little easier to work with. So I'm going to put a couple on these two tabs to start with at one end. And then literally just make my box up, maybe give the tab another little press and get it lined up. Oops. And then this one again, line it up, give it a good press, and then the last two I'm going to pop on again. I think this would be a perfect little gift. Again, you could use this as table favours, table decorations, just a little Valentine's gift if somebody loves to have candles around the bath, or you know, in the living room or anywhere really. I just think they're really nice and relatively personalised too. Okay, so I've put my glue dots on these last two tabs. Now I'm going to actually put the lid on the box, so the one that I've already sealed at the bottom, stand it on its end, fold my sides in so that my tabs are down, and then hold the sides and push the top in and on. And that way you've got a box that's actually got a lid that fits, because sometimes you can make this lid and then you've gone through all that effort with the acetate and it doesn't fit. So I find that just doing one end first so it's got somewhere to sit, and then you can just fold your sides in and fold your top on top, and there you have your box. Just to decorate mine, I'm actually going to use the white one, but it's the combo ribbon that's in with the Sealed with Love suite in the Spring Summer catalogue. As I say, there's red and white, and I think I'm going to go with the white one this time. So I'm going to grab a nice length of it, and then as we do, put it on the top and then twist it. You could always stamp another flower if you wanted to and have it as your label or tag. I decided not to on this one, just because I was quite happy with how they came out anyway. And just do my bow. Not a bad bow, Not a bad bow at all. And I have actually left a bit of a tail to these bows just because I quite liked how it looked with a bit of a tail. And there we have it. Beautiful candles in boxes that are stamped with flowers, so they are a little bit more personalised and not just some tea lights. And obviously, as always, the details for these are on my blog, which details are below, and you can obviously get not the tea lights or the tissue paper, but all the other products are available in the annual and the spring and summer catalogue, which again, the link for the shop is below as well. Thank you for joining me, guys. Have a great weekend. Speak to you soon. Bye.